is a miracle, doc. They counted me out. Moment of truth, counting it down. Underdog story was down for the count. Back on my feet, back with a mic, back on the beat, back with a family that bang in the streets. The game on lock, I stand with a key. Standing my ground, I am planning to flee. Standing my ground, I am planting my feet. Taking a stand, embracing my destiny, shaking his hand, flipping the script, changing the plans. Off to the top, and I'm taking the fans, making them jump, making them dance, making them jump, making them dance. We about to change the game. We out here taking names. Let our voices rise. Let them reach the sky. We about to change the game. We out here taking names. Let our voices rise. Let them reach the sky. Hickory dickory dock. We about to change the game. We out here taking names. Let our voices rise. Let them reach the sky. We about to change the game. We out here taking names. Let our voices rise. Let them reach the skies. We about to change the game.
Today on What Now, presented by Sports Wealth Asset Group and Alliance Financial Group, this is Mike Tisch, your host. Today, I'm sitting down with a gentleman that's worked really hard to get where he is today. I've seen his journey. He's been fantastic. And I wanted him to explain a little bit about where he came from, where he is now, and where we go from here on out. Today, I'm sitting with Carolina Panther linebacker, Claudin Cherelus. My guy.
Sir.
Claudin, talk to me a little bit about coming from Naples, being raised, in a Haitian immigrant household, how that affected you, how that kind of built your core, and elaborate a little bit on that, and then we'll kind of go into your journey a little bit.
Yeah. First of all, I appreciate you, Mike. Appreciate you for having me. Let me start off with that Haitian background. Growing up, it's different, because my family was born in Haiti. My mom and dad born in Haiti. Most of my family's in Haiti, so going through it, like you said, growing up in Naples and specifically Golden Gate.
Mm-hmm.
Just the area, it was tough because there's not much support you get from, that area. Scouts aren't just coming through every day, just looking for that next guy on their team. So growing up in Golden Gate was tough, I would say, but like I said, with the support, from my mom specifically, my brother, sister, all of my family, I found my way through and ended up getting some Division I offers, went to play Division I ball, and, ended up making the most out of the opportunity. And now I'm here, going in my third year with Carolina.
Talk to me a little bit about mom. Like, talk to me about how your relationship with your mom, but how that really affected who you are, right? Like, I know you for many years, and you've always been somebody to seek knowledge, right? You're a seeker of knowledge. When you were in high school and playing multiple sports and excelling, and then getting college scholarship offers and having to choose which it was, which college it was. Your group of friends, obviously my daughter Nikki's in your group of friends, and we were introduced, many years ago, and you always called, you always came, and you always wanted to find out what can I do next? Can I make it to the league? Which, if we sat down 6 years ago, it wasn't, I'm going to make it to the league. It was, I just want to get a scholarship, right? Yeah. So now, all these years later, what kind of drive did your mom instill in you to really focus and want to, change your family dynamics, the narrative, and really expand on that for me a little bit?
Yeah, so my mom was probably my biggest supporter, by far my biggest supporter, and my motivation. So years ago, last time I see my dad was when I was 8 years old. It was actually the week before my 9th birthday, and when my dad left, my mom had to figure it out all on her own. She didn't know English. She was just working, and he was pretty much handling everything. So just seeing that growing up, having to live with other family for a while, and just watching how my mom worked and never complained. She never let us go hungry, and figure it out. She really had to figure it out on her own, because eventually she picked it up little by little. She was taking steps. So once she got enough money to get us an apartment, then she got a car on her own, and then putting my brother in college, then me, and then finally my sister. And it kind of motivated me to, try to strive to be like her, like just search for something, any way I could get better at or learn something. So, it drove me. I know you remember when we met. I was just sitting there. I'm in awe. Like I just want to hear the stories about the guys you worked with and the guys, just anything, like any stories they told you. I'm just sitting there trying to, soak up the knowledge of the game. And then, at that point, I'm in college too. I just got into college and, I'm not playing too much. And it was I never came to you like, Mike, like, yo, they trying me, like, like I'm better than these, I'm better than these dudes in front of me. It was on some like, I gotta figure it out, and
Absolutely.
it was like I gotta work harder, because if I always felt like if I'm not in a situation that I wanted to be, it's on me. I gotta go work for it. So at that early age, I kind of learned how to just work, stay hungry, because at the end of the day, that's what got me to every stepping stone I was at. That's what got my mom to be able to provide for us, no matter which way. So, you seen it growing up. You was with me most of the way, and yeah, that was what kept me going.
Let's talk about it a little bit. So that's something that anybody that meets you one time, they know that about you, right? Like they see that, you're about your business, right? You're not the, I'm going to go and go crazy with this first check and that's not the background you come from. But it's also you, right? It's an attestament to you as you're growing up, to kind of your evolution as from a young man, watching your mom and watching your family dynamics, to say, look, this is something that I know that if I put in this effort, this could happen. But the determination, as I like to say, the persistence to overcome the resistance is what you always showed, which is, I think that's something that we kind of shared, which is why I think our connection is so strong, is, the determination to always say, look, I'm going to prove the next person wrong. I could make it to this level. I'm looking around and I'm seeing different people and I'm saying, well, if that person made it, I could make it too. We've had many conversations about other ranked linebackers that were ahead of you and what their stats were and what we could do to kind of put you in that situation. So once you got to college and you had a little bit of, let's just say, maybe not the most positive experience at first, talked about transferring, talked about different schools to transfer to, chose Alcorn State, obviously famous for Steve McNair, Aaron McNair. And you went there and really balled out, right? Like you always said to me, what do I have to do for people to see me?
Yeah.
And it was ball out. You know what I mean? Play like your hair's on fire, So I think that's really what's seen, right? Everybody saw that about you. But, getting your degree at Alcorn, coming out of there with that piece of paper, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, it was major. I mean, just being one of few in my family, I would say, because my brother was the first one, and it was people don't know this, but after my 3 years at Massachusetts, that when I hit the portal, I actually took that next semester off. I wasn't enrolled in school at all. So I'm sitting at home and I'm, it's tough. It's tough to get yourself up and out and go back. Like people always say it's hard to go back to school. Like, yeah, I see it because I experienced it, even though, I was playing, I knew, and on top of that, I knew I had somewhere to go after, and it was still hard to get back. And then COVID hit on top of that. So that 2020 spring semester, I was enrolled in school. I was at the house, I was at the crib, me and my mom, working a little bit. COVID hit, and it was nothing to do. We're on lockdown. I'm chilling. I can't go nowhere. So it was like, damn, what do I do? He was like, how do I stay focused? And then, it wasn't until maybe 3 months after, I took a good look at myself in the mirror one day, and I was like, man, this ain't me. I'm losing myself. Like I'm, how do I find it again? Because I was like, at the end of the day, I got to go back. I still got the same mission on my mind, to make it to the next level. And, I got a harder task. I went down the level to FCS. I went down to HBCU, and that was before, we were even getting any recognition, and it was tough. So after that day, I remember I took a good look at myself in the mirror, and I was like, this ain't you. You got to lock back in. And I remember I started going 3 days damn near. Like I was just working out on my own. You know, I was going in the morning, afternoon, then like take a nap, wake up, and go late at night. You know, and it was hard. I'm never gonna say that was easy. Like I'm never gonna say you got to do 3 days to get right, but that was just my mindset. You know, I was going in, I was like, look, I ain't got nothing else to do but work. I gotta be ready when the time comes. So did all that, get to Alcorn finally. You know, I feel great. I'm ready for it, and they canceled the season. So that was another one. Like, that was another pivotal moment. It was like, damn, like I could just fall into the trap. Like it is what it is. It ain't in my favor. So, like I said, that was tough. Went through that. Came back in 21, and came back in 21, and it was another mindset shift because in 2020 everything was online. So it's easier to just, you could do whatever. You online work, it's easy to get online work done. But it was just that time off from season. It also made me re-lock in. Like, okay, grades. I mean, the field is not the only important part. So grades was something else. It was like I got to get these right. So I don't remember specific numbers, but it was a significant jump in my GPA from Massachusetts to Alcorn, just in terms of just showing up and doing the work. It's like so many times, like I was in Massachusetts, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm playing ball, schoolwork comes second. But when I got to Alcorn, it was like, okay, I got to get my work in, because I got to leave here with a degree. I've been in school. I'm gonna be in school 5 years. I got to leave with something, So yeah, and then my coaches at Alcorn did a good job of holding me accountable. Coach T more recently, and Coach Thornton. They were big on grades for me. And they weren't gonna let you play if you didn't have the grades. No matter who you were. So when I finally got that degree, my second year at Alcorn, and just celebrating with my family, just seeing how happy my mom was. It was everything for me. Like, putting a smile on her face, and it was more so an accomplishment for her because it was like that's the second one. We got one more, and you did it all by yourself. So, you know how that was. It was just major.
It's major. That's why I bring mom up in the beginning, because when you see mom and you see and you together, it's like the same person.
Yeah,
right?
you know how it is. My mom always asking for you.
Yeah.
When she see you, it's all smile, kid.
So the transition from Alcorn, right, with a degree, now you're really at the end. I mean, you were balling at the end. Everybody saw that your flashes out there. And we talk about it all the time, right? Play fast, play violent, be aggressive, all of that good stuff. But where, going through the process of pro day, going through the process of all that, seeing all these guys that are putting up all these numbers elsewhere, and you really locking in at that point. I think that's probably when you were your most hyper focused, was to say, look, I could play at these levels, and
we had them
and I want to show this, right?
We had them conversations often. It was like, look. And you was the first one to tell me, look, all you got to do is get in the camp. If you get in the camp, you're fine. And while we was having those conversations, I'm telling you, like, this is what they're telling me. Like, this is where they got me graded. This is, some teams saying they don't even got me on their list. And, I think throughout our conversations, how that fueled me. It was like,
of course,
like, I'm not on the list, bet. I'm not expected to be this, bet. All right. So, pro day, even before pro day, training, right after the season, I remember right immediately after the season, not even a week later, I was training already. I was in Atlanta. I was with G5, training out in Atlanta, just doing footwork, we were lifting, stuff like that. I was just motivated. I was like, okay, I don't got time to chill. I got to get the upper hand. Some of these guys that, at Bama, at Ohio State, they're playing still. So this is my time to take advantage. Like, okay, I got to be prepped. Because once they done playing, it's like even playing field. I don't need it to be even. I'm going to take advantage of the time I got.
If you're interested in the content that we discussed today, please like and subscribe. Now back to the podcast. Oh, talk a little bit about after that, right? Like now, scouts talking to you and I mean, you know my allegiance. I mean, we got lucky coming out the gate, when you signed with the Jets, how did that feel? Like what was that accomplishment walking into a facility, going to New York from Alcorn State, Naples, Florida? How did that feel walking into a facility and then saying, look, I have to make a presence here because if I don't, I might not get another opportunity, right? A lot of guys don't get 2 or 3 opportunities. You get one shot, you don't perform well, you're out of the league. So how was your mindset? I mean, obviously the determination, we know that already about you. But what was the mindset going into the building in New York, and what kind of I guess you could say reputation did you want to build for yourself right out of the gate, coming from a small HBCU? Can you play at that level type of environment?
Well, I mean, we always had them talks. My mindset ain't changed. I still walk in the building to this day, like, going to my 3rd year, and it still feel the same as the first time I walked into the building. So my mindset is always like, I gotta earn my keep today. It's not, oh, I got my spot, I'm good, I'm chilling. Nah, I gotta go earn something today. So just walking in the building in New York, it was different. It was major, like I walked in, and I don't do this now necessarily, but I'm walking in, I'm looking all around, I'm like, damn, like, I'm inside the building, like, and then just getting my phone to work on the access code. Like I said, like, how to, like, I'm like, damn, I
just to open the door.
Can open the door, security let me in through here. So I'm looking at it like I'm speechless. At first I was just like, I was trying so hard to get here, and you don't realize it. Some people don't realize it till they're there, but like, I embraced the journey, and it's like, I'm looking back at like we was talking this, like, after my first year, we was talking this, like, damn, it's already year 2. Like, it flew by. Like, we was just in New York, first day and Hard Knocks, just doing all this and just being excited to be in the building. And it's like, I don't know, that feeling I'll never forget. Like, getting that phone call from them, like, yeah, we're bringing you in, like, I'm forever grateful for that feeling, and I'll never let it go.
Talk to me a little bit about that feeling of being in New York, right? You're there, you're riding a bunch of highs, right? A bunch of highs. Your pro day, the end of the season, you get undrafted, you undrafted, but you sign with the New York Jets. You go there, you're balling out on special teams. You had a great, preseason there, and at the end, you get cut. You get released the last cut.
Yeah.
I remember we spoke, and it was like, oh man, what's going to happen next? But we know that New York's intention was to either sign you to a practice squad and kind of develop you as a young player. But we were surprised, right? Something happened that was a little different. Carolina came in, signed you, as to the active roster right out of the gate, and you've been there since. So how is that in your mind? Of one of the reasons why we chose What Now as the title to the podcast is that in life you're going to have all these different parts that is going to be, okay, well, what now? You got released, what now? What comes next? How is your mind, your mental going forward in that process of saying, look, I'm now released, but oh snap, now I got signed from Carolina, a place you've never been before, all new again, new facility, new team, and now the season's going to start in a week. How is that? Talk to me a little bit about that. What now in your life?
People don't know what goes on like that. That last week is so pivotal, and people don't know how it affects you, how it affects the people, even the people that don't get cut, people that don't get waived. Like, you've been with some of these dudes for, a little minute. You done built bonds with them, you close with them, you hanging out with them every day, and now it's like they gone just like that. So for me personally, it was an interesting like sequence, because it was like, in the back of my head, I knew the odds were stacked against me. Like, I'm undrafted. I probably had the least amount of signing bonuses everyone else, but I'm in my head, like, throughout that whole offseason, I was like, look, I'm gonna work so hard to the point where no matter what happens, like if I do get cut, I did everything in my power. You know, I can be fine with that, and I have a good feeling that I'm gonna end up somewhere else. But at the same time, I know, like, realistically, sometimes, like, you know, your hardest ain't enough, you know, and that's fine. But, like, it will be enough somewhere. So, yeah, I remember I was at my agent's crib in Staten Island, and we were just chilling the day before. It was a cut day, and it was like, you know, he's giving me, you know, positive pep talks. He's like, yeah, they love you over there and not gonna get rid of you. But in the back of my head, I'm like, look, it's a business side to everything. And you know, dudes, I'm trying to stay off my phone because, you know, that's, you know, nowadays, you know, Twitter, ESPN, they gonna send you every notification. So I stay off my phone for the most part. And, you know, the day goes by, I'm chilling poolside, and, you know, I don't get no call from no one. I'm like, damn, like, he was like, yeah, like, they love you. And all right, I'm like, damn, like, it just don't feel real yet. It don't feel real. So, you know, I'm chilling, with some of the guys in New York the next day, and, you know, I get that call and, like, bring your iPad in, and it was like, damn, it was like, you know, I couldn't even put into words, like, how I felt. Like, it was the first time in a while, like, I just couldn't even explain how I felt. You know, it was like, damn, like, I worked so hard for this, you know, and it wasn't sadness. It was just like, it was like question marks. It was like how, what, why, what else do I got to do?
I mean, how many times in your life has somebody said to you, hey, quote unquote, you know, you're not good enough right now. You know what I mean? In your life, you know, as a young athlete, I mean, you know, playing basketball and playing football and playing other sports, you know, you're always, you know, top dog, especially coming from a small pond like Naples. But, you know, going through to a small school after that, and then now you're in the league. So once you got signed by Carolina, you go to Carolina, you know, you had to really show out. Yeah, again, you play, you know, when you had the opportunity, you balled out. Talk to a little bit about, again, the what nows, right? The injuries. How have injuries affected not only you physically, but mentally? And how have you overcome that? Because I'm going to take that to a little bit different place, but I kind of want to get a little bit of your feedback with that, because you've encountered a couple of injuries in a short career so far.
Yeah, not too much. But yeah, I would say my two surgeries were different. I handled them completely different, and I'm blessed to even have the opportunity to handle them how I did, because like I always say, like, struggle is a blessing, you know. Adversity is a blessing. Like, just going through stuff in life, it helps you. It helps you grow. So my first injury was like, you know, I haven't done anything yet, but I'm at the highest of the highs. You know, I went through New York, you know, got cut, got picked up the next day, and I'm active. You know, I'm playing teams. Like, teams, like, people don't understand, like, some people bash teams. Like, teams is, you know, that's a blessing. You get to run down, like.
Wait. Explain what teams are for the average Joe.
Special teams, man. Okay. Punt return, kickoff, kick return, field goal block, field goal if you need me. But, like, that's a blessing. Like, to be a rookie undrafted HBCU, and I'm playing. Like, I'm not just putting on the jersey and standing there. I'm not active and you know, sitting on the bench with my woman, but I'm playing. Like, I'm running out there. You know, that was a blessing. So for me, that's the highest of the highs at the moment. You know, because I always I'm always where my feet are. So then to have a knee injury and you know, find that I had to have surgery, my first surgery, and I just, everything's flowing through my head. I'm like, you know, it was a meniscus scope, but at the time they told me they wouldn't know which surgery they were gonna do. Remember I said, I don't know how long I'm gonna be out. I'm gonna find out when I wake up.
Right.
So it could have been 6 to 8 months, or it could have been 4 to 6 weeks. So it was just my mind was all over the place, and I kind of had it in my mind, like, regardless, like, my season would probably be over. So my first year, I kind of fell into, like, I wouldn't even say a dark place. It was just, I wasn't handling things the best way. You know, after recovery, it was just, you know, I was cold shoulder to everyone. Like cold shoulder, we didn't talk much of that.
It's also, I don't mean to interrupt, but it's also like, okay, you get injured, but you have a lot going on, right? And that's the transition that I think that people outside, they don't get that, is that you're coming from college, you make the team, you're now playing, you're now getting checks.
Yeah.
Right? You didn't have the blessing of NIL at that time.
Yeah.
So you had to figure out, okay, I'm getting this money, I'm living in a new city. How do I take care of family? How do I take care of myself? How do I take care of the community? Because you always want to give back. And, we'll talk about a little bit about, giving, mom money so that mom could go give back to Haiti and give to the church, and how much that really, that really motivates you.
No, my bad. We was talking, how my first year went handling it. And then,
of course,
once I got hurt, it was just, it was just enjoying life, listening to the outside world.
So talk to me. So let me say this. So we go back and forth, right? About all of that. But there was, not only did you come back and you were more motivated mentally, you had like a more of a professional attitude about yourself, in the sense that you believe now that you belong.
Yeah. You
believe that you weren't in a place that you had to like necessarily, I have to show that I belong here, but you felt like, you know what, I do belong here. And now at that point, I think that you even buckled down a little bit. Like, we did more, financial planning.
Yeah.
We've had more financial conversations. And something that you say to me all the time, like, you go up through life, financial literacy is not something that people talk about every day, and how to create a lifestyle and what you need to do so that the money you make now could, in a perfect world, last a lifetime, right? That you could parlay this career into a second career that could parlay into something more than that. So I think that that's something that we focused on a lot, is just, getting a grasp of where you are and how we're going to wrangle you in and say, look, this is more of what you need to be doing, and you buying in, right? At the end of the day, you have to buy in because it's your plan.
Exactly.
And I think that now you're at the point going into year 3 where you're buying into more of, okay, I really do need to plan for this. I do need to understand investments. I do need to understand that there's going to be a career after football, and I might, open a business. I might go to work at a company. What about that now is something that you think about, but more so, you've overcome the injuries, so that mindset is there. But now you're going into another year where you're coming off an injury, right?
Yeah.
Where you've had way more opportunity to play in year 2 and put some really good, good film out there where, you're getting noticed by, GMs and stuff around the league, and people are taking notice of you. But now it's like you also had an injury at the end that you had to overcome. Mentally, you come back from that. Where are you now, and how do you feel going into year 3? If you find topics that we've discussed today interesting and would like to book time with me directly, please find my booking site in the description or contact me through LinkedIn, Mike Tisch. Now back to the podcast.
Yeah, before I hit that, that now I'm gonna go back to when I did have this injury. I had the toe surgery in December, and it was tough, obviously, because it was a more serious injury. It was more complicated. Not a lot of people have worked with it. A lot of people have turf toe, but not a lot have to have surgery for it. So the rehab part, it was tough, man. I couldn't be on my feet for about 2 months. I was in a boot. I couldn't drive. I couldn't enjoy the off season. But I handled that way better than my first injury. Like, I think that injury, like, drove me, because it was like, okay, everyone telling me, like, this end careers, like, you might not be the same after this. I'm like, bet, say no more, and ended up coming back a month early. I wasn't supposed to do OTAs. I was full participant, no restrictions. I feel good. I felt good. I feel good right now, so just coming into this year, I played 13 games last year. I started a couple, and it kind of left a bad taste in my mouth, like, where I left off. I started that last game. I was supposed to end the year as a starter, put some opportunity to put more on tape, show what I could do, because I was just getting comfortable, so it was like, the opportunity doesn't keep chasing, opportunity is not looking for you. I feel like there's God and there's luck in a lot of stuff we encounter. And it's hard for them both to cross paths at the same time. So, but like I was saying, the work can help. So I'm going to work. I done all the little things. I'm still doing all the little things to make sure I'm giving myself the best shot. But in terms of like off the field, like you said, the mindset shift, like, after my first year was like, wishy-washy. I'm half in, half out. You still my dog, obviously. So,
I know.
We still talk every now and then, but you could tell, like, I could tell I was like, I might not be 100% serious, And the trust factor comes in too. Because, I trust you, obviously. We've been together for a while, but it's like my mindset wasn't there to allow myself to trust you. So fast forward, and now it's like, okay, now we're seeing progress. We're seeing what we got to do. Now we're talking for real. Like our conversations are, when we sit down to talk on the phone, it's like close to an hour, a conversation. When I pull up to your crib in Tampa, I'm sitting down at the crib for a couple hours, we breaking down stuff. And it's past just the X's and O's, play calls and doing this. We're talking finances, we're talking future, we're talking, setup, mindset, how's mom, how's the family doing, stuff like that. So I feel like right now I'm in a great spot, like, mentally and physically. So I'm just getting ready.
Taking that, right? Which, listen, it takes trust, right? Trust isn't, something that's given. Trust is earned, right?
Got to.
And all the work that you put in the dark, that's what shines the brightest, right?
Yeah.
When people can't see you working, that's when it's time for you to show out. That's when you show out. So, I feel like that about a lot of my clients, right? I mean, whether you're an athlete, whether you're not an athlete, or whether you're, a business owner, it takes time to build those relationships, because at the end of the day, I have to be able to know you in a sense to be able to help you build a plan that's the best plan for you.
Got to.
Because it's not me. I'm in my 50s, you're in your mid-20s.
Mm-hmm.
The cheat code that I give you is only going to help you moving forward, which we've talked about for years, talking about different experiences. But you now heading into a restricted free agent year, an opportunity where, your pay is now getting to the point where, where people thought you were probably getting paid in the beginning when you first got signed. We all could go through that. When you get signed, everybody thinks you're, Tom Brady contract. But now heading into year 3, solidified with the Panthers. I mean, obviously anything can happen, but we kind of, we get a good feel for that. Being the film guy that you are, being in the locker room, being solid every day, that's the work ethic that it kind of breeds. People see that, being a leader is something that people feel. It's not something you can't pick a leader.
Exactly.
A leader's chosen, by its peers. So now going where we are now, and we've made some things, we've made some plans. How do you feel moving forward as to what kind of, I don't want to just say financial, but making sure that you have the balance that you need, life balance between your mental, your physical, your financial, obviously your personal situation. How do you balance that out moving forward, going into year 3 fresh with a wide open slate?
Well, first off, we're gonna talk about that rich stuff, because people think you rich as soon as you sign a contract. Like,
right.
Dog, like I remember signing and getting my signing bonus finally, and I'm in New York, mind you. So my signing bonus was like $5K, and like after that $5K you see on paper, you got New York taxes. So I walked away with probably I left the bank with probably under $2,500, and people thinking I'm rich. I'm walking around like, dog, this is everything I got in my name, bro. Like, I don't even know when my next payday is. So, just that mindset. But if the sooner you realize it, the better. You got to know that you don't come in here and you set for life. And backtracking in my first year, I didn't have that mindset that I was set for life. I was just making bad decisions, knowing that it could affect me in the long run, but I wasn't thinking of it.
Right.
So now in my second year, my third year, I'm like, well, damn, like, this money won't stretch forever, and we broke down, we're not gonna get into detail, we broke down our finances and, spending and everything. And basically like, like we can't spend X amount of dollars every single day and expect to be good 20 years, 20, 30, 40 years down the road, people look at what you got in your 401k. I don't want to be one of them guys having to take money out early and stuff like that. And now we're getting to the point where, we're talking about investing money, because you got to flip your money. You got to do something with it. But yeah, like, just finding a balance though, because it's tough. And I say, like, my first year, you told me before the off season, you was like, off season's a little more expensive than the regular season. And I'm like, what? Nah, I'm good. Like, regular season, you buying pregame fits, you going out every now and then, and, you enjoying life, you eating out every time you can. But, like, you get to the off season, you ain't got nothing to do. You ain't got nothing but time, and you still getting paid.
It's actually the same feeling for people that are retirees, people that work their whole lives and now they're retired and they're home. It's like you think that you're on vacation,
Yeah.
And when you go on vacation, you spend money like crazy. Then you go home and you're licking your wounds going, oh, man, I spent so much money on vacation.
Right.
That's what the off season is for athletes. With the athletes, that's your vacation. Unfortunately, it lasts 3-4 months. So that's a long vacation to be out there spending. And there's been, listen, we all know the stories, right? The articles in Sports Illustrated that all athletes go broke and all this stuff. There are a lot of examples to guys that don't go broke.
Yeah.
And now there's such a platform for guys out there to show, the Shaqs, the Magics, the people like that, to show like you could be the biggest billionaires,
And I like it, my fault. I like how you always send me those though, because those guys that lose it all always go viral.
Right.
But they're not talking about the guys that's doing it right. And you tend to send me the videos on TikTok or Instagram, like, okay, this is how they made more money after they retired.
Exactly.
Off the field, stuff like that. But a bigger thing is, I think, your surroundings too. You got to get, I feel like the sooner the better, but you got to get your people in your circle to understand that, we're not good for life.
Right.
When you sign that $100 million contract, if you do, okay, you got a little more wiggle room, but the sooner you can, the better. Like, I'm blessed. My family doesn't ask for, I help out, knowing what I can do, and my mom won't ask for much. The only thing is, I'll give money back to my mom, and if she doesn't go, her family will go, feed the less fortunate in Haiti.
Mm-hmm.
She'll go cook for the church. She'll go give back to the church for me. And like I said, that's a blessing to be able to do that, knowing that, she's got food on her table. She can sleep peacefully, knowing her rent is paid, her bills are paid. But on top of that, she can go help out other people, because that's where she comes from. That's her. That's all she wants to do. Like, she's not she don't want to be just filthy rich buying all these bags and stuff like that. Nah, she wants to help her family. Mm-hmm. So I come from a good circle. My people, my homeboys around me, like they're real good with that. They don't ask for much, stuff like that. So
just last weekend, I know, we're talking about mom, but just last weekend here in Naples, you kind of, mom, you've kind of followed mom's lead, right?
Yeah.
You set up, your first camp here in Naples at Golden Gate High School, had about 300, 400 kids out there, had a really good turnout. And that's the same thing. You had a bunch of other college athletes that come from the area.
Yeah.
And they, they showed up for you to support you. And I know your agent was out there. We came out there to see what you had going on. But that kind of leads into the same thing. That's why I brought mom up in the beginning, because mom is kind of, you follow her lead, and it's kind of helped you where you are now. And I think that's what we've talked about, like in the beginning, like how do you help out your family? It's like, if you could alleviate a little financial burden, then that's great. But, a lot of families, and we all heard these things, they feel like they're owed stuff.
Yeah.
The family's owed stuff. You're blessed to not be in that situation. Mom is giving back to Haiti. She's feeding kids. She's going to the church. Those are all, that's commendable, right? That's like Mother Teresa type stuff. That's beautiful. And I think that you seeing that helps. But you also see guys out there that are being taken advantage of by women, being taken advantage of by, shopping
No.
or you know, a million different things, you know, gambling, you know, all the different things that you're not supposed to do. They tell you can't do, but we all see these things. And I'm not throwing anybody under the under the bus, but we all know that it is the Instagram culture. You know, the big chains, the Lamborghini Urus. You know, guy that recently just got signed to a $600,000 contract and spent $380 on a Urus. You know, that's almost his whole contract. So like, how have we spoke about not having that, and what's the importance of having your mom, me, you know, your family, your brother, your sister, if they're really kind of keeping you humble, you know what I mean? Like, you know, we mess around a lot, and you know how it is, but it's just really to keep you level so that as we grow, you know, you could still keep who you are, you know, keep a hold of Claudin, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's tough, but like, I forgot who I was talking to the other day, and I was like, you just got to understand, you can't come into something, and this is your first year, for example, regardless if you're, you know, a draft pick or not, and, you know, you think you're going to hang with the big dogs, the $100 million dudes on the team, and just go, you know, band for band, spend it with them, you try to compete with them, like, nah, you ain't got no one to impress. Like, that's what it comes down to. Like, you have no one to impress. Like, being where you at, you already impressing yourself. You're impressing a lot of people. Like, they looking up to you. Like, don't feel like you got to have the biggest chain in the club. You got to have. You could go to the club. You don't need 20 bottles. Like, who was drinking 20 bottles liquor? Like, bro, we had this talk.
Of course.
20 bottles. Like, who was drinking 20, 10, 15 bottles liquor? Like, come on, bro. You ain't got to do that. You ain't got to have, you know, a Urus. You ain't got to have a Urus to pull out to work and go home every day. And, you know, you're not even making 3 times a month. You know, that's an example. So, people just got, I think social media is part of it.
Of course.
Because everyone want to flex. Everyone want to flex.
It's accessibility. Everybody wants to be, you know, create some type of accessibility. Look, if I did it, you could do it. You know, you have influencers now, young guys, 25, 30 years old, making tens of millions of dollars just by streaming and doing things like that online. And, you know, the reality is like, if you're a lawyer and you graduate law school, you could practice law for 40, 50 years and you're able to earn an income for 40, 50 years. When you're an influencer, you're an athlete, your primary income isn't going to last for 30, 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
But understanding that at 25 or 20 is different, right? Yeah. Understanding that as you get older without having somebody in your, you know, there to help kind of say, hey, the light bulb, you know, wake up. You know, this is not forever. This is for now. What are we going to last forever, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, people don't understand that. Like, the only thing I would say, it took a while to explain that to some people close to me, and it wasn't like they were overly asking, but it's like when I move, I'm hitting the mindset like, okay, I don't got unlimited time to do this. Like, you know, if you got a good job right now, and, you know, no matter what it is, like outside of like the sport industry or like or the industry in general, rap industry, stuff like that, like, you got to know that you can do that a little longer than us. Like, yeah, we're getting this lump sum of money right now, but the hardest part is managing it, like stretching it. Like, well, I would say, like, when we're getting paid throughout the year, everything, you know, peaches and cream. You know, we get a check every week. You know, every Thursday when I wake up, I got whatever I spent last week, I got it back. Yeah. You know, but then you hit the summer, the off season, you know, and without your bonuses, even with your bonuses, it's one check a month. So you got to learn to make it stretch. Like, it's like reteaching yourself. Like, and living past your means will hurt you in the long run. Because I remember growing up, like, you know, we didn't have much. So, like, you might have $15, $20 to stretch for the week. And you making it work somehow, some way. And, yeah, you had no bills, but now it's like, okay, well, I'm getting this lump sum, but I still can't make it stretch for a month. You know, and that's what people, you know.
Because you go from eating at Chick-fil-A to Capitol Grill.
Yeah, now you're at Steak 48, you at SDK, man. Like, that's what it is.
Yeah. It becomes different. It's like when you go eat by yourself and, you spend $20-$30 and then you go eat with your girl and a couple of other couples and, the bill's $1,500. You know what I mean?
That'll never change.
And you're the professional football player. So, 9 out of 10 times you're picking up that check. So
that'll never change. I tell my girl all the time, man, if I would have ate by myself, man, this meal might have been $30. I go eat with you, it is, now we paying $150, everything. But it's cool though. Like I would say the only thing is like, okay, living within your means is like, okay, you can go eat nice every now and then.
Of course.
You're working hard. You can treat yourself. But it doesn't have to be every day. Like, you don't have to go shopping every day.
Listen, we want to create a lifestyle that's going to create balance for a long time.
Yeah.
It's, the money that these guys are earning now, like, like in the next couple of years, if everything works out well, the money that you're going to have put up should last a lifetime, right? It's not something that should just last for, right now. Right now is great, but that's the difference. That's the mindset that if you go into guys, most players, especially NFL players, right? Yeah. Most contracts aren't guaranteed. Now they're guaranteeing more, but it's not like baseball or basketball. So how can you really say, look, I'm going to put this money up and then you don't earn your whole contract or you get cut or you get injured. So what we talk about is always, right, protect you, protect your money, protect your family. Those are things that we've spoken about for years. Anybody that works with me, whether you're an athlete or not, I talk about that all the time.
You were saying it before I had money.
Exactly. So those are things that I talk about. Like when we spoke about this podcast, it was like, it's the what now moments in your life. Like we've covered a lot of different obstacles that you've gone over. And I think that people could take that, your sports and your background, and add that to their lives, right? And focus on how could they create that balance between mental, physical, financial. How is all that wellness going to help the next generation, right? I was married for years. I got divorced. I'm in a great relationship now, but I have children that are older, right? I have grandchildren. So it's like when you add that to your life, those are real life experiences that we've shared, that I share with clients, because that's the cheat sheet. Why work with somebody that doesn't have those life experiences? How can you add that to benefit your life? So I always told you, I'm an open book. You know pretty much everything about me and vice versa. So we're able to have those relationships. But I really, it transcends just the athlete clients, right? Like I have clients that are 70, 80 years old that I know them the same type of, the deep way that they know me. And I think that those relationships is really what's going to transcend you in the long run. But you didn't wait till year 6 to start planning. We're planning in year 1.5. You know what I mean?
That's what I was going to say. It's a balance too. Like, we'll have those conversations where we just talking like chilling. Like we just talk about dinner. We might be talking about nothing. But then we know like, okay, we got to talk about some serious, maybe some serious stuff. Like, okay, you can't be doing this. You got to do this, or you got to look at this, look into this, think about this. So we know when it gets serious, but we can have those fun conversations.
Right.
A career in financial services is about freedom and relationships, both for you and the clients you serve. By building intentional, authentic connections with people, we not only create an environment where advisors can succeed, but also puts you in control of your future. Financial success looks different to everyone, and it's more about the process than the numbers. If you are someone that is looking to make a difference in your life and the people closest to you, go to the website below and schedule a conversation today. Back to the podcast.
And that listen, those relationships, like you said earlier, the trust was key, right? It's like, it's trusting someone that, okay, this is a huge moment in my life. This is money that I'm probably never going to see again. How do I know that this person's going to really be there for me? And, I always tell people, like, I'm not selling you anything. You're really selling yourself.
Yeah.
I don't have any products. I don't have any products in my holster. I'm not shooting guns at you. I'm not doing any of that. Yeah. At the end of the day, your life, right? You being single now, you don't have children. There's a certain amount of planning that goes into that. That planning will evolve as you get married, as you have children, as your career evolves, as you're buying homes and you're buying properties, your life is going to evolve. Yeah. Those are things that we're going to be able to pivot, which is why you have all these other podcasts out there that use names like that, right? Because it's all about what now? Like, how are you going to, what's the steps that you're going to take to get you to that next level? So we're sitting here and now you're headed into year 3 and, You have some big decisions to make. And the ideal, if you could, let's say, if you could draw the perfect picture for yourself, what's the next, year, 2 years, and look like for Claudin Cherelus?
Perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna sell myself short. I want to, I've been around some of the top guys in the position at the league, so I know, what it takes ability wise. I'm not gonna say I know what it takes behind the scenes because I'm not with them 24/7, but I don't think I have a limit, So I want to be an All-Pro type player. I want to be a Pro Bowl All-Pro. I want to be a team captain. I want to, but at the end of the day, I want to do the best I can in my role on the team, and I want to exceed that. So, whether if I play teams, my whole life, I want to be the best special teams player I can be throughout my career. I want to be one of the best. I work towards that. I work with the mindset. Like, if you ask the guys, I always tell them I'm all pro. It just hasn't happened yet. Truthfully, like that's the mindset I have. As far as off the field, I want to maximize what I can give back to the community. I want to get other guys from this area to where I'm at. I want to be able to, I already reach out to the college kids and I'm like, look, whatever I can do, whatever questions you have, whatever help you need, let me know because I want you here with me. Because I know what this did for me and my family, and I know opportunities aren't fair. It ain't even, stuff like that. Truthfully speaking, like when I was in high school, there were scouts going to Naples High that didn't come to my school, and we 15 minutes away. So whatever I can do to help out, whatever I can do to give back to community, help build up the community, that's another thing I'm big on, and I want to be able to maximize too. So
if you were talking to those college kids, and we know a lot of similar kids, right, that are coming out from the area, if you were talking to them about NIL and the money that these kids are getting NIL right now, and what they know, what they don't know, but more importantly, right, like your mom wasn't in necessarily a position to really kind of give you that financial education that you're at now. Parents, you want the best for your kids, but this is your first rodeo too.
Yeah.
How important is it to have people that you could really lean on, that you could call, in the off season and sit down and say, look, these are the things I'm going through. This is what I have now, because we all hear stories about all these NIL kids are owing money to taxes. They're buying their teammates, diamond chains, all this stuff, and it's really the first money that they're seeing.
Yeah.
In the NFL draft, all the announcers always ask, this is your first big check. What are you going to buy? I'm going to buy my mom a house. That's not true anymore.
Yeah.
These kids are walking on stage with millions of dollars worth of jewelry because they've earned millions of dollars.
They got houses already.
They have houses,
Mom living good already.
Mom's already living good, exactly. So what kind of advice do you give these young kids about, you're in business now, right? You're not a business at 21 when you're in the NFL. You're a business now at 17, 18 when you're in college. How important is it to have an agent around you, a financial advisor around you, or just somebody around you that can really, help you make those smart decisions,
It's hard to give advice. Now I'm the broke one. These college kids got more money than me now, but for real, the biggest thing is NIL was starting as I was basically leaving college, and it wasn't as, now it's crazy. Now these dudes, they getting real life money, and they signing contracts in college now too. So I would say the biggest thing is when I talk to the kids in the area that's getting NIL, no matter how much or how little, I'm like, look, don't let someone finesse you. Don't let them finesse you because you don't know what's going on. Protect your money, like you said, like you always say. Like at this point in time, you're young, you don't have like your school paying your bills. You just getting this income coming in. I always tell them, like, yeah, you can enjoy it. Put some away though. Like you don't got it. Like I went through college. I done did that. I was at FBS level. I was at a big school. I was at a small school. Like you don't gotta spend as much. You don't gotta keep up with everyone. Everyone making different amounts. I know it's coming in fast. Try to put some away. Get with someone that you trust. You don't gotta be the biggest. Like It don't got to be the biggest agency. It don't got to be the biggest advisor. You know, get with someone that you trust, you feel comfortable. Like they're not just trying to take advantage of me.
The question is, and I've gotten this for years, is, you know who to trust, right? Who do you trust? And it's like, you know, every player is going to introduce you to somebody. You're going to meet with multiple people. I've had agents introduce me to players.
Yeah.
I've done Zoom calls with players and their parents and going through the process. And while they, you know, have 5 different financial advisors that they deal with. And I tell people all the time, right? Financial planning is a sidebar to what we do. It's a relationship. Right?
Yeah, definitely.
You have a lot of different girlfriends in your lifetime before you choose one to marry. You might have multiple different wives in your lifetime. You never know. But at the end of the day, you go through a certain process. That's the same process that players go through with agents, players go through with financial advisors. But at the end of the day, you want to lean on the people that are going to be there while you're playing ball, when ball is over. Like, you know, I've dealt with 30, 40 different guys that have been through the NFL. Most of those guys have lasted a year, 2 years in the league, and now they're doing 100 other things outside of that. They're selling medical equipment. They're doing real estate. They're, you know, become police officers and, you know, all these different things. How important is it for that transition? You know, like how we talk about the exit strategy already. We talk about what's going to happen after ball.
Yeah.
How many guys are really talking about after ball, or are they just worried about what they're doing tomorrow? You know what I mean?
I mean, I'm lucky. You know, I got you on my team, and then my 2 agents is like family. So I'm not necessarily talking y'all like, oh yeah, I got to handle some business. I'm like, yeah, I'm talking, like I tell my one lead, yeah, I'm talking to Mike. You know, we just, you know, we chopping it up. You know, I talked to Evan, I talked to Jimmy. You know, I was just at my agent's crib this weekend, actually in New York, and we didn't talk nothing business. I was poolside, you know, he was grilling. You know, I was at the pool, we was chilling. I was with his family. You know how it is. I come down to Tampa, you always like, look, you crash in my crib if you want. You feel me? So it's real important for that specifically, because, you know, you don't want to just get involved with people that it's just whatever. Like, you know, they don't owe you anything, and not necessarily say you owe me anything, but it's like kind of like loyalty. You know, like even before we was in this, you know, we was locked in. It wasn't like, oh yeah, if you don't make it to the league, I'm done talking to him. I don't need him. You know, and that goes on to life after ball.
Right.
You know, because people don't plan for it, and it's hard. That's why people don't plan for it, because it's difficult to think about when you're done at the highest point in your life for most people. You know, because this is the highest point of a lot of people's lives when they're in. But the thing I would say is try to start. And even if you don't have an idea, just try to go get idea. You know, I went to a seminar last year in Cali at the NFL headquarters, and it was me and Taryn Arnold. We're the youngest 2 there. And they were like, yeah, most guys your age don't come here. And then come to find out, everyone's in like year 7, 8, some free agents out the league, and they're just now starting. This is their first time. And they were like, just being here is major. Like, you don't have to have any ideas. Just go take advantage of everything they're offering. You know, take advantage of people wanting to know you, wanting to be around you. You know, and it's not
those doors that the Shield will open for you while you're playing ball. And after ball, they're always going to open the door for you.
They'll open, but it's harder to open.
Right, but what you do once you get in that door and the way you carry yourself, that's what we talked about earlier in the conversation, is to say, you know, that's what is people see, right? The Shield is going to open the door, but what's the substance behind it? Because a lot of guys can't succeed once the door is open.
No, that's true.
And a lot of guys, once they're done with the league, there's, you know, when you're sitting there thinking about what can this kid really do next? What is he going to be able to get involved in?
Yeah.
And the league can be very unforgiving, right? Most guys are not retiring because they choose to. Most guys are retiring because nobody wants to sign them anymore.
They don't owe you nothing,
And how is your mental there? You know, like if you're a 5, 6, 7, 10-year vet, and now the league chooses, hey, you know what? When nobody wants to sign you anymore, how hard is that transition? I just watched Cam Newton's podcast the other day, and he was talking about Shane Battier from Duke, and they were talking about, you know, the mental part of it. Like you're your whole being is the fact that you're a Claudin Cherelus, this professional football player, and now you're not an athlete anymore. Now you're now you're a regular civilian with a shield, the NFL shield. How is that? You know, when you think about that, how is that? Is that something that you do think about, or is that something that you're not thinking about yet?
Truthfully, I do think about it. You know, because at the end of the day, I know it's going to end at one point. And me right now, I think I'm in a good mindset where it's like, not only like for me, it's like, okay, I never dreamt of getting this far. So everything I do is like I'm impressing myself. I'm like, you know, I'm still in awe. Like I said, I'm still in awe when I walk in the building. So I don't take it for granted. You know, I don't take nothing for granted. So I think when I'm done, I'm gonna be more appreciative than anything. I don't think I'm gonna be one of them when it's like, damn, I'm in a slum. I'm depressed. I can't. You know, it's like this game is giving me more than I could have ever imagined. Taking me places, taking me out the country. I was in Germany playing football last year.
Amazing.
That's something I don't know anyone who could have said they dreamt about, you know, playing an NFL game out the country. You know,
as a 16-year-old growing up in Naples, right?
No one. And it's like I was getting offers and I was still in awe. Like I couldn't believe it. So I think me personally, I'm gonna handle it better, but I've seen the other side. You know, I got friends that's on the other side that, you know, had to come to reality, and it's like, I just try to tell them and let them know, like, look, you're blessed. You know, you're in a percentage of people, like most of us don't got any college debt. We're already ahead of the game. You know, because once we start working, this is ours. You know, I'm keeping it. You know, we've experienced it. You know, you've been at the highest level. You put on a helmet. Majority of people don't ever put on a helmet.
Well, what are there, 250 NFL linebackers?
That's what I'm saying. Like
250 NFL linebackers?
You don't get that opportunity. So it's like just being grateful and appreciative every single day. I think it's harder when you feel like you could have done more. Mm-hmm. And there's always more to do, but if you strive and you're like, okay, I'm outworking myself. I'm killing myself on days I don't have to. You know, I'm going in doing extra. You know, then it's like, okay, you're gonna be able to live and accept with yourself. Like this, I gave it everything I had. You know.
But you see a lot of guys doing things that they shouldn't do, and you know, that's something that we all come to that. And that's okay. That's your choice, right? You know, you're a grown man. I've had a lot of guys tell me in the past, listen, I'm a grown man. I'm gonna make decisions whether you like it or not. Yeah. You know, I respect that. You know, listen,
you tell nobody no.
But, you know, I'll sit there all the time and I'm going to make you a million suggestions that I think is going to what you need to do and educate you and put you in that position where you can make that decision knowing that, all right, I was given this knowledge, I was given this information to make an educated decision where you're not having to make any decisions based off of just, okay, this is what I should do or shouldn't do.
Yeah.
Or when is the right time? Because timing is what it is, right? Timing.
It ain't waiting on you.
It ain't waiting on you.
Yeah.
So make it, you know, being in a position where we are now and understanding that the roles that we all play and the people that you have around you, from your accountant Grace to me, to your agents, your family, you have a great support system. You know, your girl, you know, a lot of positive feedback, So that stuff is all great, but at the end of the day, it's what you sponge up, right? Like being that sponge, what you take in, like with the field the same way. So, you know, I'll end with saying that we've been through a lot, you've seen a lot, and it's always the what now, what's next. I look forward to seeing what comes next in Claudin Cherelus' life, right? I think that the next 3 to 5 to 10 years to the next 60 years, there's going to be a lot that people are going to sit back and say, I didn't realize that he accomplished all these different things in his life, because you do it in the dark and then it shines the brightest afterwards. And we talk about that all the time.
Definitely.
So stay focused, keep your game, you know, locked in, understand that there are people that are going to want from you and people that are going to want to put into you. Take what you could get from them and don't give up any more than you're willing to give up. You know, keep a lock on who your mom is, who your mom raised, and why you are built the way you are. And, you know, when New Year's come around, we can have some soup and we can enjoy, you know, we can enjoy and we could, you know, we can enjoy ourselves. But on the first podcast of What Now, you know, presented by Sports Wealth Asset Group and Alliance Financial Group, you know, Claudin Cherelus, I couldn't have had a better guest, man. I appreciate you,
Mike.
and we're gonna go a long way, my guy.
Most definitely.
This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not to be construed as a recommendation or advice. Please note that individual situations can vary, therefore, the information should be relied upon only when coordinated with individual professional advice. Guest speakers and their firms are not affiliated with or endorsed by PAS, Guardian, Sports Wealth Asset Group, or Alliance Financial Group, and opinions stated are their own. Mike Tisch is a registered representative and financial advisor at Park Avenue Securities, LLC, PAS, OSJ, 14021 Metropolis Ave, Fort Myers, Florida, 33912-239-561-2900. Securities products and advisory services offered through PAS, member FINRA, SIPC, financial representative of the Guardian Life Insurance Company of America, Guardian, New York, NY. PAS is a wholly owned subsidiary of Guardian. Sports Wealth Asset Group, LLC is not an affiliate or subsidiary of PAS or Guardian. CA Insurance License 0H29403. AR Insurance License 132741648201836.1 expires 727.